Well, it looks like we're live on Facebook now. We're at New Hope Christian Academy. My name is Mark Stratton. This is Dee Dee Mims, head of school for New Hope Christian Academy, and we're super thrilled to be here. The purpose of this is I know that a lot of families have questions about next year, school plans, etc. And so we thought that this would be a fun, interactive way to help address some of the questions ahead, just again, that we all have. Rather than one-on-one, Facebook Live and technology helps us kind of bridge that gap in the middle of COVID-19. So that being said, Dee Dee, thanks for taking the time for Facebook Live and
Thank you, Mark.
to address parents' questions.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, as a parent of children at New Hope, I'm sure a lot of the questions that I have, all the other parents in our communities have as well. So the first question that I think is appropriate to start with is, why do you think New Hope is best positioned, not just for the regular environment that we were in pre-COVID-19, but especially during times like we're in right now?
One of the things that sets New Hope apart is the fact that we have low classroom ratios. We maintain a 1-to-10 ratio throughout our entire elementary school. And about a week or two ago, we got a 13-page checklist from Texas Health and Human Services on what their expectations were for sanitation and health and wellness and keeping all of our children safe through our daycare. And interestingly enough, as we're going through that checklist with my assistant, there was very few things that we already didn't have in place, because with classrooms that small, they're social distancing anyway with the groups as small as they are, besides being a real enhancement to their education. So it wasn't a real difficult thing for us to be able to check through that list. There were a few things that we needed to do as far as maintaining the right sanitation procedures and things like that, but for the most part, we were already doing what they were asking us to do for that special time. So that was not a real adjustment for us.
Awesome. So, as we just finished the school year, I know many families have a lot of questions about next year, because nowadays there's a lot of dual income families. They've been asking the question, well, what do we do if our kids aren't in school 5 days a week? And I know that, again, a lot of the families here at New Hope probably have the same question. So can you give any commentary as to what the 2020-2021 New Hope calendar is going to be for next year?
Yes. TEA came out with some recommendations on how the school year could possibly look. And one of the ones that we were very drawn to was what they called an intersessional calendar. So we've decided to adopt the intersessional calendar for the upcoming school year. One of the main reasons we want to do that is because there is not a vaccine developed yet, and it's likely that there may be another COVID outbreak within our community, and so we wanted to be prepared for that. So within the intersessional calendar, we will start on August 10th, and our last day will be June 11th of 2021. Now, New Hope has an extended day of school. We probably go an hour to an hour and a half longer, so meeting that state requirement is relatively easy for us. And so we didn't have to add a lot onto our school year to be able to do that. But in addition to starting a little bit earlier and ending a little bit later, it gave us an opportunity to have a 2-week break at Thanksgiving. There's a 4-week break at Christmas. There is a 3-week break at spring break. And should there be a mandated closure, then we will have the ability within the existing school year to make up during one of those weeks that we have as vacation time. We still try to maintain, like our main spring break week is the week that PISD had their spring break week originally scheduled, so we did try to coordinate with that as much as we possibly could, but at this point, Plano doesn't know what they're doing, and so we felt it was important for us to go ahead and give our parents answers. And so the intersessional calendar worked really well for us. In addition to it extending the school year a little bit, though, it still gives us a 7.5-week summer vacation. So that worked out well for us.
Sounds like it gives not just the school a lot of flexibility, but it's a good balance between flexibility for the school while still giving families some time
Right.
between school
Right.
years.
Giving families some times between school years, which I think the adjustment to a year-round school is too much of a jump. We're so used to having family vacation time in the summer and things like that, and so this still gives and allows for that with that intersessional calendar.
Awesome. So, again, kind of on the same theme, some schools have said they won't be doing 5-day-a-week school in the fall. Some have said they will. Where do you see New Hope in the fall with their the number of days in school for students?
New Hope is committed to having a 5 full-day school week of kids on campus. We feel that that is, as a majority, the best learning environment for students. Distance learning can be a good supplement to that, but I think kids really learn more effectively if they're in class. And so we will be committed to a 5 full-day class here at New Hope, unless there was anything government mandated. Of course, we can't predict that, but at this point, our plan is to move ahead with a 5 full-day program throughout our school for all of our students.
Awesome. One of the specific concerns, I think it's amongst a lot of families, is because COVID-19 is still in our communities, it hasn't gone away, and until we have some type of, the belief is until we have some type of medication, vaccination, etc., then children, families still could be at risk from COVID-19. Can you talk about some of just the precautions, distancing, sanitation practices that New Hope will have for the 2020-21 school year?
Yes, we've already developed a health and wellness and sanitation program that you can find on our website, but we have increased our cleaning to the point that we are sanitizing 3 to 4 times throughout the school day, as well as disinfecting first thing in the morning and disinfecting in the evening before we leave. And that's done throughout the classrooms, throughout the hallways. We've met with the church staff who we rent from to make sure that the things that they are using is listed on the EPA's list to kill the virus. And so we are committed to making sure that everything we use cleaning-wise is effective to kill the virus, but also safe for our students. And so there is what is called the N list that the EPA has established, and so all of our products are cleared through the N list to make sure that they are doing what they need to do for the safety of our families and our children. We've put in sanitation stations in every classroom, but those sanitation stations, the hand sanitizer is alcohol-free, which is very important for especially younger children to have that alcohol-free. We do have alcohol sanitizer out in the hallways, but the ones that they will be encouraged to use in the classroom throughout the day is alcohol-free. We have made arrangements for all of our classrooms to have individual desks for each student, and they'll have their own space, their own supplies, things like that, with the teachers giving them specific instructions on how to clean their own space that they have. We also have purchased face masks that the children will be wearing whenever they're doing any kind of collaborative projects or science experiments or things like that where they're more in close workspace. Then they will be allowed to use those. The great thing about our facility is we have laundry facilities here on campus, and so they will be washed after every use, with each student having their own mask, but it will still be washed after every use. And so we've gone to that, as well as prepping our teachers. All of our teachers have taken 6 different courses on COVID-19 and how to manage that within a classroom setting, how to manage that for themselves and in their own homes. And so we feel that that's very important for our teachers to be well versed on how to manage and go by what the CDC tells us to do to be above and beyond in the area of sanitation. So we do feel that we've tried in every way possible still allowing our students to be kids and allowing our students to be students, to have that ability. We want them to be able to visit and talk with their friends at lunch. So we've staggered our lunch times to where there will be half the number of students in our cafeteria, but they can still sit and visit, but be spaced apart. Probably will make the cafeteria a little bit louder because they'll be talking at a distance.
If that were possible. it'd be louder.
Yes, less kids, but still just as loud, But we also want to allow our students to still be kids
Sure.
and to still have that ability to be with their friends and talk with their friends and have a good time, while they're here at school.
Awesome. I know that there's been a lot of talk about, in addition to just the sanitation, are there going to be any measures the school takes upon arrival to school?
Yes, we are setting up a sanitation station right at our front entrance. I've already changed the lobby up a little bit. And at our sanitation station, they will come in first thing every morning. They'll have their temperature checked before they enter the building. We used to have parents, even in our child care facility, we had to have parents bring their children in. Well, we can't do that anymore. They drop them off at the door, so I have somebody who takes the students to class. They will all have their temperature taken before they go to class. We already have, because we do have a daycare here, we already have a pretty strict policy on who can come in the building, who can't come in the building, what we send home students for as far as illness, and so we're going to have to just make sure that we follow those guidelines very extensively. There's times that you can pass off a student because, they've got allergies. Well, we can't pass off those students, they have allergies anymore. If they have a nasty nose, we're going to send them home. Those kinds of things. And so with our sanitation station, that'll be done every day. Our teachers are going to be trained and equipped to know how to accurately take temperatures so that they can maintain that throughout the day. If they notice that a kid's looking a little like they don't feel good, or if they're pale, the teachers will all be equipped to have that in the classroom as well. They will be immediately removed from the classroom if they have a temperature of 100 or higher, and they will be isolated until they can be picked up. It's going to be a very strict policy on when they can return, being checked by a physician so that we know that if the child has a fever, that they're safe to come back to school. If they have a rash of any kind, they have to have it approved by a physician before they can come back. And so we're just going to really maintain that strict policy that we've already had in place.
So in other words, pollen 2020 is not an excuse.
No, pollen 2020 is not an excuse. Unfortunately, I wish it could be. And like there's certain of our littles that we can say, well, they're teething, but I can't do that anymore. You know? So if they're having any kind of issues with a fever or feeling cranky and any kind of nasal discharge, they're out the door.
Yeah, and I think as a parent, again, thinking about my own kids, if they fit into that category of having a yucky nose or what have you, something that could potentially put someone else at risk, and I would err on the side of caution and say, no, let's keep you home anyways.
Right. I kind of made a joke with our parents a little bit and told them to please not try to mask a fever with Tylenol or Advil and send them to school because their kids tell on them every single time they do that. And, my mom gave me medicine this morning. But we don't want to risk that anymore.
Yeah,
so.
Well, I think it's going to be important for parents to kind of have a good cooperative approach.
Absolutely. And we want to do what's best for our school community. And so I think that in light of what we've just experienced with COVID-19, our parents are going to be more than cooperative because they understand the risks that are involved and hopefully will appreciate the fact that we are doing what we can do to keep the building open. But we have to make sure that we're all on the same page to make sure that we're keeping our kids at home. The great thing that we've done with this forced distance learning that we've had is we've been able to allow our teachers to feel more comfortable in an online environment. So if your student needs to stay home a day or two, everything will already be online through our learning management system to be able to stay caught up. So
Sure.
An absence doesn't really impact the student as much with us having those abilities to do that.
You know, this isn't something that we necessarily have hit on yet, but with that distance learning already in place, if a student is required to stay home from school for, let's say, a 2-week period,
Right?
would you foresee that student being able to tap into that learning management system?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And as long as that student is not ill enough to where they can't function to do their work, they should be able to stay up to speed with the teacher. The teacher will be, it's got a great messaging system that they can talk back and forth, they can ask questions, but the learning management system is now going to serve as the teacher's lesson plans, the communication tool with parents to help on projects at home, and things like that. So I don't see there being any downtime really at all unless a student is so sick that they really don't feel that they can
Awesome.
do the work.
Well, it's great that New Hope has a lot of those things in place, and you know, again with the daycare here, a lot of this is stuff that New Hope's already been doing, right?
Right. We've already been having a lot of this health and wellness and the sanitation process in place. We have increased it a little bit, but the really great thing for us is during this time period that we've stayed open for essential services, the daycare side of things never shut down. And during that time, over the last 3-month period, we've had no outbreak of anything whatsoever. And prior to us being asked to do that by the Health and Human Services, I had already talked to Felicia, my assistant, and I said, you know, we're going to keep doing this. It's obvious that what we've done with the increase in sanitation and cleanliness has really made a big difference because we've had no one going home sick.
Awesome.
No one going home sick. So it's been really great to see that happen, and just the little bit of extra that we've done has made a big difference.
Yeah, I know sometimes it's tough to see the forest for the trees at times when you're in the middle of something like COVID-19. But yeah, I firmly believe that once we're on the backside of COVID-19, there will be a lot of important lessons learned that
Absolutely.
make us stronger as individuals, families, communities, organizations.
Right.
And so, you know, although there have been a lot of negatives, and we as humans tend to focus on those, I think there's going to be a lot of positive changes.
Well, and it really has been a relatively good experience for us because it has forced us to look at some things where we can improve. I believe that New Hope excels in a lot of areas, but I also know that if we're wanting to encourage our students to be lifelong learners, we as adults can also be lifelong learners. And so there's a lot of really great things that have come out of it for us throughout this process. And so our health and wellness around here at New Hope has really been a big part of that.
Awesome. Well, let me segue on from COVID because I think we hear enough about it on the news or just in our day-to-day
Yes.
lives. So let's move on from that.
Okay.
And I know one of the other key things that a lot of parents ask about the upcoming school year is personnel. Can you talk about kind of what the personnel situation will look like for New Hope next year? Are new teachers coming in? Is anyone going to be shuffled around to teach another grade? Just help families understand what's going on.
All right. Well, New Hope is looking ahead into our 4th year. And so fortunately, because we are a school that is growing, we are a school that is hiring new teachers. Of course, people's lives change and things like that. So the first announcement I want to make is that we are allowing Miss Ceci Lopez, we're allowing her to retire. That was a difficult one for me to do because I count on Miss Ceci a lot. Her and I have been very close friends for 25 years. And but she is retiring. She's got some exciting family things happening, and she needs to be able to invest some time in that. And we were joking a little bit earlier. She enjoyed her trip to Italy so much that she wants to be able to spend more time there when that opens back up again. But she will still be around a lot, advising me, supporting me. I made her promise that she'll come at least once a month to take me out to lunch. And she's also volunteered to sub, so she will come in and substitute teach. But they've got a lot of really great things going on with their family that she needs the time to be a part of. And so we're going to reluctantly but very sweetly bid Miss Ceci goodbye and allow her to retire. We've also just recently hired a new child caregiver, Miss Jayla Moore. She was coming to us and supposed to start work right before COVID-19 hit. And then when COVID-19 hit, she was ready to start, and I said, that's great, but I don't have really any kids for you to teach right now. So fortunately, she was able to kind of hang on, because we really felt when we interviewed Miss Jayla that she was going to be a good fit for our school. She's very loving, very kind, quiet. I've never heard her raise her voice. She has a lot of really fun ideas. You can tell that she enjoys working with the children. And so she's just been a really great asset, and she's only been here for a week and a half. So
awesome.
We just really are glad that she's a part of us, so we have her. Miss Phoebe and Miss Stephanie will still both be in their positions in the preschool. And of course, Miss Felicia is going to kind of be running the show in that wing there, and so we've still got pretty much all of them intact. And the next thing is we've kind of got a little switch. Miss Godwin has decided that she would like to stay with her current students and move with them to second grade. As a parent, that is an ideal situation, because there's no one that knows those students any better than the teacher that had them the year before. And I've been in situations before where that's happened, and it has been such a monumental academic striving time for those students, because the teacher can start the ground running right from the very beginning. So Mrs. Godwin is moving to second grade. With her doing that, that leaves the opening in first. And so Miss Lisa Herzani, who came in the middle of last year and had done some music for us and just done some things around here for us throughout the building, she's actually going to go to first grade. And so this will be her first time back in the classroom after quite a while of being out. She's taught at just about every level out there, has done a lot of substitute teaching, and so she's very excited to be actually getting back into her own classroom. And so we're excited for Miss Herzani to be in there in first grade. We have hired Miss Brittany Stinson, who worked for PISD for about 9 years. She worked in their early childhood center as well as working with their special needs program. And so now she is coming to us to teach kindergarten. And so Miss Ceci has already been training her, which if there's any teacher that could train you to do well with classroom management, it's Miss Ceci Lopez. And so I'm very, very excited that they've already been working together quite a bit. I think they have plans to have a 2-hour Zoom meeting every week throughout the entire summer. And so there's a lot of prepping already going on there, and Brittany's been in the building and very excited to set up her classroom and get all of that lined up. Miss Stinson is, her husband is a Dallas police officer. She has 3 children, and her youngest daughter, who will be going into second grade, will be here with us at New Hope. And then with Miss Godwin in second, then what do we do with Miss Stratton? Okay.
You can throw her by the wayside.
No. Miss Stratton has worn a lot of hats around here, and we are so grateful for everything that she's done. But I believe that we're putting her back at the place that she has excelled the most, and she's going to be doing PE for us again. And the thing about Austin and PE is that she has such knowledge of physical developmental readiness for students that she made such a difference in the lives of some of our kiddos. And she realized how that impacts brain development and just really worked well with so many of our kids. And interestingly enough, her first year to do that, some of our older kids didn't like her because she's pretty tough. She makes them work, and I like that.
She's tough on me.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. But they missed her. They realized how much they missed her. And so when they started talking about how they missed her, I think, the wheels had already kind of started turning for her as well. And so she's going to be back with us and do PE. So I am really, really excited about that. We love Stretch and Grow, and we will still have Stretch and Grow in for various things. Like the year we had them in for hip hop, teaching the kids how to do hip hop dancing was really fun. And so we will definitely still maintain that relationship with Stretch and Grow and have them in, but we're excited to have Miss Austin back in PE. Mr. McDaniel will still be the same, and Miss Lewis will still be here to teach math. Miss Joanna will still be here to teach art, and Miss Mari will still be here to do Spanish. She's probably going to be with us on campus 2, if not 3 days. And so we'll have more Spanish instruction from her, which we're excited about that. We're also considering Spanish immersion, and so with her being on campus more, she's going to start laying some of that foundation and really looking into that in more detail of what we need to do to get set up to possibly have Spanish immersion for the 21-22 school year.
Awesome.
Then we have Mr. Chris Tabolka. He is our one that we just recently hired, and he is going to be the 3rd and 4th grade teacher. And he has taught in Guatemala at an ACSI school in Guatemala, served as a missionary there, and missions is his heart. And so we're excited to have him a part of our staff, because in addition to teaching 3rd and 4th grade, which is great to have a male teacher in 3rd and 4th grade, in addition to that, he's going to help develop our outreach and missions program for the school. So we're very, very excited to have him on board. He has 2 children, and they will both be here with us. Mariah will be in kindergarten, and then his youngest will be back in our daycare. His wife is a teacher for PISD, and so it's got a lot of educational experience in their background, and so we're excited to have him on board. He's originally from Wiley, so he's an original Texan by birth, but with all of that experience in Guatemala and missions and things like that, we know that he can really bring a lot to our school in helping us develop that program. And then we have also hired a English teacher for our middle school. Her name is Isabel Sanderson, and Isabel is Canadian by birth, and she has taught in Christian schools in Canada as well as here in Texas. Her husband is a musician, very talented musician, and serves at his church, and from what I can tell, really plays a lot of different instruments. And so Isabel is going to be a great asset. She's already got her whole classroom planned out. She's already done a lot of things, and she does photography on the side, so she might be able to share a little bit of that with the students as well. Who knows? But she has 2 kids, and one will be probably 2nd grade, and then she has a son that will be in 1st grade.
Awesome.
And so that kind of rounds us out so far for this year. We do have the possibility of hiring someone else, but if that happens, we'll make that announcement.
Awesome. So, kind of on the same vein of the future, can you give some context and commentary around New Hope's long-term strategy?
Our desire is to go all the way to 12th grade. So at this point, we intend to add a grade every year. I do not want our school to be a huge school. You know, we like maintaining our low classroom ratios. That doesn't mean that we wouldn't double grade in an area, because we would if we had the students. But New Hope is always going to be a place where we are going to be able to reach a student individually, whether it be emotionally, academically, spiritually. And so we want to be able to maintain a size that allows us as a staff to really pour into the lives of our students. And so in addition to going all the way through 12th grade, we want to train our students to be good leaders, to be able to lead themselves well. I'm a real firm believer that if we can teach our students to lead themselves well, they in turn can lead others to do right. You have to be able to understand your place in the world and what your impact can be and how difficult it is for you to make the right decisions as an individual. And so if we can pour into our students and allow them to lead themselves well, I know in turn that it will just be a part of who they are to be able to lead others well. And so that's a lot of what we want to be able to teach our students. I kind of take us back to our motto or our mission of our school. And the mission of our school is that we want to come alongside the parents and impact our students in the area of knowledge, impact our students in the area of leadership, and impact our students in the area of compassion for their fellow man. And so within that area of knowledge, New Hope does not want to settle to be second best. We can always improve, we can always be better, we can always provide the best academic education that we can have here at New Hope. And that is not necessarily academically either. I think that I want them to have sound biblical knowledge and be able to discern the word of truth. And that is just as important or even more important than the academic side of it. But whatever we do, we want to do with excellence in teaching our students here. And as well as teaching them to know themselves well and know how God created them, find out what their interests are, help them develop those interests, help them develop the gifts that God's given them to be the best that they can be. I don't think that a Christian school is designed necessarily to put out a bunch of preachers and missionaries, even though there's nothing wrong with that. But, for example, like in your world that you work in finances, that's your mission field. And so whatever you do within that world, you need to be a representation for Christ. And so you're gifted, God's gifted you in that area. In the area of finances and money management and things like that with your constituents that you work with. If you're like a lot of us, maybe not so well at home, but you do well. You can't control your wife or whatever. But
no, I gave up on that a long time ago.
I know. But we love her anyway. That's the area that's gifted you in. And so, whatever God's gifted you, I think that we need to allow our students to discern that and decide that and seek what God wants them to do in their lives and teach them to do it well and do it with integrity and do it with honor and do it with a godly attitude. And so those are things that we want to be able to impart to our students. And to me, that's part of their academic growth here at New Hope. And so then, in turn, once they learn how to lead themselves well, then they in turn can lead others well. And that's important. So you have the area of knowledge, you have the area of leadership. And then we want them to learn what real compassion is all about. There's a lot of things that I think Christians are criticized for with how we believe certain things that the Bible says. But even though we believe that, that does not give us the right to not have compassion for our fellow man, regardless of what their choices are, what ideas they have, or they don't necessarily have to agree, but I need to be compassionate and show that compassion and that love for others. And so understanding how to truly love others is really, to me, wrapped up in understanding how much God loves us. And so if we can impart that to our students here so that they can go into the world as adults having compassion for others and knowing how to lead well and using the knowledge that God has given them to make wise decisions and wise choices, that is our ultimate goal. And we don't want to shy away from or shelter them from the world that they're going into. We want to prepare them for the world that they're going into. And being able to do that, whether they're in kindergarten, whether they're a year old, whether they're in 12th grade, it's my desire and my goal to surround them with adults that can mentor them through this process. We really believe that New Hope needs to be a place where kids can make mistakes, where kids can learn from their mistakes. And that's probably one thing I think that's very hard for all of us in this world, is to realize we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to come out on the other side from it, and it be okay. And I usually will tell especially my older students, this is a great place for you to make a mistake, and
Yep.
we'll teach you through it. We'll help you through it.
How many times did Thomas Edison fail in making the light bulb? But he learned each time he failed.
Right.
And so
Right.
failure is a useful tool when properly coached,
Right.
right, through that failure.
And I think Einstein is one they always use too. I think didn't he fail out of school or something, Einstein, and he's one of the most brilliant men ever. And I believe that all of our students here are very talented, very bright. They have a lot that God's gifted them with, but they may not realize it. And so for us at New Hope, that's part of what we do, is help them realize that they do have a purpose and a place here. And so we want to be able to nurture that spiritual environment for them, to help them kind of understand what God wants for their lives and the direction He wants them to go. So.
Well, I know I can speak firsthand as a parent of 3 students here. The thing that I've most, as an outsider looking in, because I'm not here every day,
Right.
but watching my kids get developed on a personal level versus an institutional level has been a huge, huge differentiator, in my opinion, as a parent, for why New Hope does it different. Because of this, again, you've said small class sizes, and that's 100% true. But it gives those teachers the ability to really personalize and deliver the education to each student individually, rather than having a class of 20, 30 kids.
Right.
That, even the very best teacher can struggle to deliver that
Right. Absolutely.
lesson plan in a way that every student receives it and
Right.
internalizes it. And I've seen, not just on the academic side, but development in my 3 kids, as individuals.
Well, and it's interesting too, because they may all have Stratton as their last name, but they're as different as night and day, but it is really awesome to watch our teaching staff be able to tune into that. And I remember our very first year with Mrs. Godwin coming to me and talking to me about a struggle that Maddox was having. And what we were able to do with him through that was a physical development type issue. It wasn't even necessarily, an emotional issue or an academic issue, because he's very bright. But understanding how that was and having the opportunity to really help him in that area probably completely turned his academics around for him, because for one, it gave him confidence. And I can remember sitting there with him, having him cut with a pair of scissors, and he said, I've cut something. I cut something. But just being in an environment where you can do that has been just such a joy for us as educators.
Yeah. Well, so the last question that I think we have is, with the school growing and with the plans to go through 12th grade, are there has there been any thought given to developing any type of sports program for New Hope?
Oh, yes. We are in the process of working through the plans on the sports program. The holdup that we currently have right now, as far as it comes to this upcoming school year, is UIL and TEA are both really kind of trying to determine what sports are going to look like for schools for next year. And so they've really put quite a lot of restrictions and stipulations on what they can actually do right now due to COVID-19. And so every Tuesday and Thursday I get their updates, and currently at this point they haven't made any kind of decisions. So what I think that this upcoming year will look like for us is we will institute our athletic program for this year, but it may be more fitness training for our students, and then we will go into competition the following year. I don't think that at this late a notice for us to really be able to do that and do that well, unless something would change and we could do something in January. But for the first half of this year, for sure, we're going to be looking in conditioning and fitness and things like that for our students in preparation for where we'll go with our sports program for next year.
Awesome. So, as we finish our time, because I know, the mind can endure what the behind can endure, right?
Yes.
So, what are final thoughts for the families of New Hope that are coming back, that are considering New Hope versus other places? What would you want them to remember at the end of all this?
I think that if you come and you spend any time at New Hope at all, whether it's a tour, whether it's coming as a parent and volunteering in the classroom, you will know that there's something different. I think a big part of that is we have created an environment where our students feel good, our students feel successful about who they are and what they do. Our teachers love what they do. We have created an environment where it's fun to teach. It's so you put all of that together, there's just something unique and different about our environment. And I give the credit of that to God, and I think that He has brought us to such a point that we are able to provide that for the families that are looking for that. And your students will walk away feeling valued and successful here at New Hope. And I hope that our current families can attest to that, but it is a really great place to be.
Awesome. I know as a family of New Hope, I can attest to everything that you've already hit on, all the key points. So, anyways, well, Dee Dee, thanks so much for your time today and for doing the town hall. I know that there's a lot of folks that have signed on. They've gotten a lot of great information as a result of just the town hall. If I'm not mistaken, as you and I and Jim were talking, this is going to be something we do on a periodic basis going forward.
Yes, it is. It is. We are to the point now that we need to give updates to the parents regularly. We need to be able to give a State of the Union address, more or less, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
Just to keep everybody informed. And now that we have been forced into exercising the tools we have at our hand, there's no reason we can't do that more often. And I know we have a lot of busy families, a lot of two-career families, and so we need to be able to get this information to them to keep them tuned in on what's going on.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know our email boxes stay full all the time, and emails get lost in translation, etc.
Right.
So, and it's just good to hear from you at the end of the day about what's going on. So, but thanks again.
Not all my teachers agree with that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I have a great admin that tells them when to stay out of my way.
Oh, that's great. So, well, thank you everybody for joining in.
Thank you so much for joining in.
We're going to wrap it up here, but Dee Dee, again, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.